Good day. My name is Worshipful Brother David Sahady. I'm the Grand Orator for the Grand Lodge of Arizona for 2020-2021. Today, I'm presenting to you the first of a three-part series on the principal tenets of Freemasonry. Most Worshipful Grand Master, Right Worshipfuls, Worshipful Brothers, Lodge Officers, honored guests, and brethren all, greetings. And thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you today. It is a habit of mine that, when I write, I seek to find some contemplative passage or scripture to help me reflect upon the task at hand. Sometimes it works. Other times I sit and stare at books on my shelf that I have yet to read. This task was no different. And in seeking, I found Psalm 133 to be the most appropriate for the story I wish to share today. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Merriam-Webster defines unity as the quality of state of not being multiple, oneness. The idea of oneness, of a single organism made of different parts, acting towards a common goal, is most certainly the great work of most any society. In unity, we are one. We are a single building built of that unshakable cement of brotherly love, supported and found form through the use of our spiritual trowel. But what happens when that cement starts to crack and you can't find your trowel for a proper repair? The trowel, in my opinion, is that implement of singular greatness that can either build through its employment or cause to fall when disregarded. It can be employed to support the erection of the temple, or, when broken and lacking repair, can allow the cracks in the building to shine forth more clearly. We are each one bound to each other by something great and enduring, something that is, when properly applied, unwavering and unavoidable, even when we may run from it and fail in its wisdom. Brotherly love. Brotherly love is that hand reaching to raise you from darkness to see you safely moored and surrounded by comforts and supports without hesitation and without request for recompense. It is a tenet I find to be of the greatest importance, for in being truthful, you honor your own life, your faith in God, and seek to live well, worthy attributes for certain. To relieve a distressed mind is a well-intended labor and should be a continuous practice towards brothers and all with whom we may interact. But it is of great difficulty to exercise any virtue, any tenet, without brotherly love. For it is within this space, within this exercise, that we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, grow, and learn. By forgetting our own selves, we allow ourselves to learn more from one another. And in doing so, we may find that if we drop the trowel, thereby making its edge dull, or exercise any failures, that love of brothers, when properly applied and allowed in, can heal even the most hardened hearts. Above all, remember that Masonry is the realm of peace, and that wherever there is strife and hatred among the brethren, there is no Masonry, for Masonry is peace and brotherly love and concord. Masonry is the great peace society of the world. Wherever it exists, it struggles to bind republics, kingdoms, and empires together in one great band of peace and amity. It would not so often struggle in vain if Masons knew their power and valued their oaths. Words from the illustrious teacher Albert Pike that echo through the halls of eternity, continually drawn upon our trestle board as designs for us to build. A lesson reflective of the employment of brotherly love in our effort to shape our ashlar. In working from that imperfect state, we must remember our oaths, and in so doing, seek to chip away the rough pieces of our heart, that we may resemble more the perfect ashlar that is the cornerstone of the temple. Be not cast aside, but remember our oaths. Employ their instructions and be a builder, This is a story about one brother remembering his oath and another only believing he had. In 2016, I had the honor to serve Aslan Lodge No. 1 as worshipful master. It was not only our 150th anniversary as a lodge, but the same for Arizona Masonry. It was such a humbling honor to serve the craft and celebrate our history. Unfortunately, my year in the East had a personal unintended consequence. My ego, and not my heart, grew 10 times that year. It made me conclude that because I sat in the East, I was entitled to be seen as the most knowledgeable, the one with all the correct ideas, forgetting that I was to be not simply sitting in the East, but serving in the East. I'm sure some of the officers at Aslan Lodge No. 1 are tired of hearing me say it, but after my year in the East and much reflection, I see serving as an officer in a Masonic lodge not as Masonry in and of itself, but as an excellent opportunity to practice Masonry. In not adhering to my own lesson, I believed I knew all, and why would someone not take my advice, not heed my concerns? Instead of reflecting, I offered unsolicited counsel that would only lead to unintentionally opening a wound otherwise believed healed. I saw a problem of which I can't even recall now, and felt obligated to help resolve it because I didn't realize how much I was struggling to take the hat off. And so I engaged in supporting contention that would ultimately lead a brother who had served the craft for decades to be harmed by Masonry. I believed to be acting in good faith to all parties, but did not in practice give equal faith. For if I had, the issue would have been resolved prior to further harm being done. And then, radio silence. We each went our separate ways and contemplated our own futures in Freemasonry. I fell on black days for certain and found myself questioning and justifying and questioning some more. But I continued to reach the same conclusion. I was not justified. In reality, I personalized and saw monsters in the shadows where none existed. And so, there was nothing left to do but either quit Masonry or begin again to practice Freemasonry. So I polished my trowel, sharpened my compasses, and went to this brother to show him my broken square. He accepted a meeting without question and without reservation, rendering me every kind office dictated by the situation. And when I laid out all my thoughts, my fears, and my regrets, his first words out of his mouth were not condemnation or vitriol or angry in any manner. Instead, he simply offered a prayer for my health and apologized that he was not able to relieve the pain with which I was experiencing. I was caught off guard. I was prepared to hear all the ways I had wronged him, but an offer of support and a prayer? It wasn't that I didn't think him capable of such a response. It was that I felt I didn't deserve it. I felt I had practiced so poorly my Masonic responsibilities that I did not deserve his well wishes. But on this day, I was shown Freemasonry in practice. Here was a brother exercising his oath and sharing brotherly love. This demonstration was filled with such care that I became emotional before this brother, which he allowed to pass without judgment, and then we spoke for hours longer about how we all make mistakes. But if we seek to grow in Masonry, then we must act as Masons and make the application of all the Masonic implements our daily practice. You see, I thought I was going to him in practicing brotherly love, by acknowledging where I felt I had done him wrong and sharing how I intended to right wrongs. But it was he showing me a greater expression of the first of our three great tenets through an act of forgiveness and vulnerability, to allow us together to repair and begin again to build our Masonic temple. We had forgotten how to dwell together in unity because we all thought we were coming from the right place and confident that we were doing what was right for the craft. But I was not speaking as a we. I was reminded by the love expressed through the whisper of good counsel and a faithful breast that it is not about me. It is and has always been about us. I am confident that we all have a friend, a worthy brother that we may not see as worthy. To paraphrase Maya Angelou, an accident of birth does not make one our brother. It makes them siblings through shared parentage. Brotherhood is a condition people have to work at. We may each one have a brother who, in our past or present, we have either harmed or feel has harmed us in some way, that our emotions were ignited with such passions that we believed ourselves to be personally attacked, and no amount of circumspection could resolve you being more than simply brothers in name only. Hate among brothers has leveled empires. It causes only chaos among the craft. It leads only to instability and erosion of our foundation. To free ourselves from such ruination, we must make the exercise of brotherly love in its fullest splendor our constant practice, and contemplate on this tenet, so that the reformation that may come from our philosophies may show the world that in so doing, we have become better men. Through the exercise of brotherly love, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and through this vulnerability, we listen and allow ourselves to be present with a brother, without reservation in our hearts or minds. It is not easy, but it is of great import to the whole of the craft. Be open, be honest, and demonstrate the fidelity and trust that should be the unswerving practice of every Mason, not only in our hearts and minds, but in our action. And in this action, we can fill in the cracks, smooth out walls, and continue our contribution to the sacred band. We may find joy, we may find pain, but we will find Masonry. For in the most faithful act, you will find Freemasonry. In the moment we pause and spend an extra moment with a brother, you will find Freemasonry. When we give ourselves to the craft and our brothers, we will find Freemasonry. For it is not found inside any building, inside any great physical structure built by human hands. It is a reflection in our heart of our obligation to one another, taken before the great architect of the universe. And in this illumination, we find Freemasonry in every act of brotherly love. So may this tenet fill your heart, my brothers, that you may never walk in fear of each other or hatred towards each other, but that all your activity within the craft may reflect your expressions of brotherly love. And then, and only then, when this action becomes a behavior and is the norm, then we shall truly be able to say and know, behold, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Thank you, and may the Creator bless you and keep you in all things.